Hello, everyone. So in the previous videos, we basically focused on the front end part of Omi. We saw how we can build the app for Android, for iOS, by using the Omi's development backend. In this tutorial, we are going to see how we can run our own backend locally and then connect our app to that backend. The reason it is useful is because if you are working on a feature that then requires changes to the backend, you definitely want to test it and see see how it works. So if you like build a feature that is cross-platform, it also need changes to the backend and the front end. You just need to be able to run the backend locally. Um, the backend has a lot of moving parts. I will try to explain most of them, but I will definitely show how to set that up. Um, you do need to watch the previous tutorials to kind of like understand a bit better, because we will be building the front end, but we will build that in a way that can use our own backend. So we will build it manually. We will use we will use Ngrok, so we can connect to our backend that runs locally. So you would do need to check this out as well. And yeah, so a bit of like requirements. We need to have a Google Cloud project. I will show you how to do that as well. That has a Firebase enable. We need to gather like API keys for OpenAI, DeepGram, Redis, Pinecone, and Hugging Face. I think Hugging Faces might be an optional as well. I'm not sure. We will see. And by the way, I haven't done this myself, because most of the time when I do stuff for Omi, I mainly kind of like make changes to the app, and then I can just use the development backend that Omi gives for developers. So we might need to fix bugs along the way together. All right, so let's start. So first, we need to have a Firebase account, a new Firebase project. So let's go to Firebase and just create a new project. Omi tests, continue. Don't enable Google Analytics. I don't know. Should we? That's all right. Which one? We can just like the default account for Firebase. That's analytics account doesn't matter. I think if I turn this off, yeah, if I turn that off, it did not request it. That will take a few minutes. So in the meantime, by the way, I just went to firebase.com and created a new project. In the meantime, after we will have a Firebase account, it will also create us a Google project account, a Google project in GCP. So you can go to GCP and have it open there already. So if you can see right now, I have my projects. Okay, and I think it should create a new one in a bit. Oh, Firebase is ready. Let's go. Okay, now I have this new Firebase account. That's good. Let's see if I actually have this in GCP. Okay, and now we have like the new Google GCP project. Let me test. I don't think we will need to do anything with that yet, just yet. But anyway, so we have the GCP project that was automatically created when we created the Firebase. We have the Firebase as well. And now let's go to okay. And then we will need to get API keys for OpenAI, DeepGram, Redis, Pinecone, and etc. So OpenAI, I mean, there are links here for all of them. For OpenAI, and I think you should have free version, like a free tier for all of them, except OpenAI. Maybe I'm not sure. But anyway, if you go to OpenAI, if you click, it will go here, and you go to dashboard, API keys, and create a new API key, give it a name, and create key. Copy that, save it for later. Let's place it in the backend. Okay, so basically we're going to have a lot of API keys. So for that we need to have a environment variable for all the API keys. Let's see which environment variable we need. Okay, we need to copy. So we need to clone the Omi GitHub repository. I already cloned that, and then we need to connect CD into the backend. So I've already done that. So I'm in the cloned Omi app. I'm going to go to backend, CD backend, and then I'm going to create a new environment file. Cool, and then I can edit this from here. So now we need to kind of like populate all of those things. So I have my OpenAI key, which I will copy again. Did I copy it? I don't remember. I think I copied it. OpenAI. No, I forgot to copy it. Create new OpenAI key. Cool, copy. And cool. Now to the next. The next thing we will need is divgram. So you just need to go to divgram and log in to your account and then create API key. Create key, copy, got it, and then copy. Oh, that's a short API key. Okay, I've got that as well. After divgram is Redis, so you can use Redis like even locally and whatever. But Upstash is a nice platform, and they also give you a free Redis instance, so that's good. So you log in, create database, give it a name, whatever the name is, choose a random region, next, free tier, create. And then you should, let's see what we need from Redis. We need the host, the port, and the password. So we can go to copy password. So this is the host. The endpoint is the host. Host. Port is, I think, always this port for Redis, but still need to specify that. I think it should be in a string. We'll see in a bit. And password. Oh. Copy password again. Cool. And then the next thing we need to do, we have our Redis instance. We can close that. The next thing is Pinecone. I'll explain like why we need all of them in a second. Just make sure we set all of them up. So for Pinecone, we need this specific model. Oops. So I logged in. This is like the first thing that was showed up. We can create a new API key. Create a new API key. Create key. Copy that. Pinecone. Where is Pinecone? API key. Do I need to create an index already? I'm not sure. Create an index. Let's create an index. Blah blah. Let's just give it a name. And the configuration for the index is text embedding 3 large. So let's use this. Basically this one. Create index. Cool. And then I think this should be the name. And this is the name. Is this all I need to do? I think that's all of that. Okay, we will see when it fails, if it fails. Okay, so we set up Pinecone. Model is not needed at the moment. Hugging Face, I think we will be fine without it. GitHub as well, Google Maps as well. Cool. So just for recap, so we created our Firebase project, and which automatically created our GCP project as well. And we haven't done more than that there yet. We will get back to it in a second. Then we set up all the requirements, all like so we created like a environment file by copying the environment template, and then we kind of like put the default all the needed ones. So OpenAI, Redis, DeepGram, Pinecone. OpenAI is for like generating text, obviously. DeepGram is to do speech to text. Upstash, Redis basically is needed for like storing and like sending messages between services, the backend services stuff. Pinecone is a vector database, so when we store text from the app will send speech to DeepGram, which will convert it to text. Then that text we will store in Pinecone as a vector as well, so we can search stuff. And then, yeah. So now that we have all of that, let's make sure we got more stuff to install, obviously. I already installed that. If you have a Mac or Windows, this is the command that you need to run. But essentially, you should be able to run gcloud. You are running. Which are not currently supported gcloud install complete profile. Okay, maybe I do need to run it again. Let's do it. Maybe I need to update it. Cool. So I needed to update my gcloud. That's all good. Cool. This is the password on my computer, I think. Cool. Come on. Okay, so install it. Let's make sure we can actually run it. Okay, so the gcloud command is now working, and the version is 504. Okay. Okay, so we done this. Okay, and now there are a few things we need to enable in our Google Cloud project. So as we said, when we created this Firebase project, it automatically created a cloud, a GCP cloud, a Google Cloud project as well. This is the project, the same name as the Firebase one. And now let's see, we need to go there. We need to navigate to API services and library. Okay, let's do this. API services, it's all right. Then we go to library. And then we need to enable those two things. So let's enable this. Okay, so I think it's enabled that already. Yeah, this one is enabled already. And let's make sure, let's do the other one. I think it will be enabled as well. Okay, so that one is enabled too, because I think this project was created automatically from Firebase, so it also created like enabled the right APIs. If you would have done it the other way around, basically, if you created the Google Cloud project and then created the Firebase, then you would need to enable that manually. Cool. So that's behind us as well. All right. So now we need to make sure our terminal, our local development, gcloud, is authenticated and using this project, this Firebase project, and not something else. So for that, we need to do GCP login. Cool, which will open Google, choose the right Google one that you want to do. Allow. We are now authenticated. We can close this. Nice. And now we need to configure the project. Google config set project. And I think the project ID should be. So Google is shit when it comes to user interface. So make sure like you don't copy the name, but the ID. Sometimes it is the same, like in my case, but it is not necessarily the ID is not necessarily the same as the name. So do note that. So we are going to make the Omi test the GCP project that we are working with, which is now working with it. That's good. And now let's make sure we are also doing this to the project ID as well. Okay, I don't think this was necessary, but anyway. Okay, nice. Cool. Now that we set up the Google Cloud environment in our local terminal, we need to install like Python and the Python packages of the backend. So I will do Python install. If you don't, make sure you have it. FFmpeg as well. Let's make sure I actually have it. Cool, I do have it. I do have it. And Git and Opus. All of that. If you've went through the previous tutorials, all of this should be installed already. But anyway, now let's go to Omi backend. It's all right. We did all of that. And now let's install the requirements. I like to have a virtual environment, which I don't have for Omi. So let's create a virtual environment. Python 3 -m bin. Let's create a new virtual environment. And I have a shortcut that enable the virtual environment automatically, which is V. I don't remember the actual command to do that. But you don't need like virtual environment. Just to you don't have to use it. You can just use your Python directly. Anyway, now that I have virtual environment enabled, I'm going to install requirements, and this should take some time. So we should wait. All right. So we did this. Open API. Let's just. Oops. They just said to do like random stuff. Let's do this. All right. Okay. The next thing we need to set up is the Ngrok. Again, like we did that for the. Oops. We did that for in the previous one of the previous tutorials. There is a full tutorial about Ngrok, but if we will need to set up, we will need to use Ngrok here as well. Basically, I won't explain how to set this up, but essentially, Ngrok allow us to connect to local configuration, local server from a remote location. So we can run the backend on our laptop locally, and then using the app to connect it to it without necessarily being on the same laptop. So it opens the port of the server to the internet. Let's see if we actually installed it. I think it installed all of it. We will see. We will see. So the port that the server is running behind is 8000. Okay. Let's create a new endpoint. No. second, I haven't done this. So Ngrok, I think I have Ngrok. Cool, I have Ngrok. Cool. One second. Oh, so the Ngrok command, I think this should, before we run this, we need to run the backend. I mean, we can run it after the backend, but we need to run the backend first. So this is the command to run the backend. It will default to 8,000, I think. So you'll see. Let's run it. Okay, it seems like we don't have any UV It seems like the requirements were not installed correctly. Okay, why did it not install? I think Python 3.13 is quite shit, so let's remove it. So let's remove the environment, rm -rf, and then I'm going to use Python 3.11. Okay, so I have Python 3.11. You can download different versions from the internet. I won't show how to do it entirely, but we will do it again. So Python 3.11 minus m, we'll create a new environment variable, virtual environment, Omi 2, and then let's switch to that. cd backend Python 3 mass. I think that's the problem. We'll see. Like, definitely don't download more stuff more than before. So I think definitely the reason I knew it quite quickly is because this shitty Python 3.13 like makes so much, like breaks so much code. I've experienced it in other projects as well. Like probably use 3.11, 3.10. I don't know why they released 3.13. Like it's definitely not stable. You see like how many downloads it's making now. All of that it did not do in the previous install. So all right, cool. So I think now it did successfully install everything, so we can again run UVCon. Which okay, now it works. That's good. It runs behind 8,000. That's actually quite promising. Oh no, what's the issue here? Okay, I think we need to download the Google credentials JSON from Firebase. So we go to Firebase. In this case, we're going to set up an iOS app. Let's do it. Omi, blah blah. Omi test, register app, download config file. That's I think what we need. Download the config file. Google service. Next, Firebase SDK. Next. Okay, I think that's enough. We need to take this and put that in. Why should we put that? Okay, let's try to just put that here for now. Cover credentials. I think that's not necessarily that. No, it's not the right file. Okay, let's go to project settings. And we need generate new private key. Okay, I think that might be the file that we need. Okay, we'll see. And then put it here, and let's call it whatever the name they want. Let's try again. Looks better. Okay, I think that's no. What's the problem? Okay. Job. Okay, I think that might be related to the fact we need a Hugging Face as well. So let's go to Hugging Face. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. So basically, we might also need Hugging Face, which makes sense because it's not says optional here, which is fair. So open Hugging Face and then go to Access Token. Create token, and then I don't know. Let's give it all actions. I think we also only need repositories, but anyway. Create token, copy, and let's put that in the environment as well. And try again. Okay, still same issue. No, I think it is wrong. They are wrong. Okay, let's try and do read and write. Let's go crazy. And then let's do this.
A few moments later.
Okay, maybe it's in GitHub. So let's get GitHub access token as well. Settings, developer settings, personal access token classic, generate classic new. And then repo delete me in 7 days. Let's add that to GitHub. GitHub token. Let's try again. Okay, so it was a GitHub stuff. So there is a mislead. Oh, okay, API key is not defined. That's okay. That's okay. How it happens in. Okay, in some search. Let's see what is that. Type sense host. I don't think we need type sense. Do we need type sense? No. So we might use like, I'm not sure what type sense is, to be fair. Okay, so this is instead of Pinecone. So I think we're fine. Okay, so now we have the server running. It is failing because we don't handle the different variation correctly. But now we can technically run the Ngrok command, and we should be able to access our backend in this endpoint that we have here. So let's. All right. Now, when we have the backend running, we can try and connect that to our app. So for that, we did all of that. That's right. Yeah, locally, blah blah. That's fine. Fine. Okay. So now we can technically, in our app, which is the front end, change the API base URL to be app, to be this new API, and it will not work just yet. So if we run the app again, it will not work just yet. Let me think, because we would need to set up the app manually. Give me 1 second. I need to charge my laptop. Okay, so the reason we need to set up the app manually is because if we use the automatic one, which is the setup bash script, it will try to just reuse the Omi development backend, and we'll try to use like this Firebase, this Firebase configuration and all of that. So instead, we need to set up manually, and let's do it. So let's go to app. Okay, Flutter upgrade, that will take for some time, and then that's okay. All right, so now I think it did run the update dependencies, but let's run it still. Okay, why? Okay, cd iOS port install, put the update. It's okay. Man, Flutter is slow as fuck.
A few moments later.
Cool. Cool. And now let's go to the app folder. Let's just see what we have in this template. Okay, let's do the copy. All right, and I think we don't need OpenAI API. We only need the Ngrok. So we only need this. That's all right. I think we can delete this as well, and then run the dot. Cool, because we got to the same issue. Okay, now we need to. I think it's still like a bit broken, but I will try to move forward anyway, and we'll see how it goes. Let's see if I have this file. Okay, and we need to basically Firebase, like the front end, also need to connect to our Firebase. So for that, we need to basically add Fire to Flutter. Okay, editor fun. So we need to add Firebase to our Flutter app as well, our new Firebase. Prerequisite. We install all of that. Again, all of this is, I think, it's something I've walked through in the previous tutorial. So just FYI. Okay, so we need to log in to Firebase. I think it should open. Okay, it's already logged in as me. I think we should have Flutter CLI. Okay, let's make sure we just have the Flutter CLI anyway. Okay, that's what we need to do just until step 1, and then we need to. Okay, let's see what this command looks like. Okay. iOS bundle, we need a different one. We need.
A few moments later.
Okay, a few things. The first thing is you need to make sure you have a slash at the end here for the API based URL. It's important. I just spent some good time trying to find this bug. And also in the Firebase, you need to go to authentication and enable authentication. I enabled it already, but basically you just go to the main page and do enable and it should work. And we should also enable Firestore as well. So like this, I actually have not enabled Firestore yet. So let's see how it looks like. Can create database. It's fine. Cool. All right. And one thing I did not notice that by running the Flutterfire command, so after we kind of like installed Flutter, installed Flutter and did the Firebase login like we just did, and the Flutterfire CLI. Once we have we did those three things, and we run this command. Either the dev environment or the prod environment, it doesn't really matter. I would use the prod one. It will create, if we go to project settings, it will create the apps here. So right now I don't have any apps, but if I go to the Omi app folder and run the commands. Here I will change from developer to the development, and I'll explain why in a second. We need to click target runner. Again, that's how it is instructed here. Target, then runner, override whatever we have there. Yep. Fetch available Firebase projects. Choose the Omi test project. Enter, and it's trying to fetch com friend iOS dev, not registered, so it will create it register that. It says iOS, but for this one, this is actually the Android one. It's quite confusing. You can see it from the command here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like it should work anyway. If we go back to the Firebase and do a refresh, I think we should start seeing the apps here. So it created the Android one, the Apple one. We're not doing Android at the moment, but basically for Android, you would need to do the extra step of adding the SHA, this step of creating, like adding the signature of your debug key store into here, add fingerprint. But we are focusing on iOS at the moment. So we have all of this. Cool. It was registered. Make sure you download Google Service Info plist. Although I think the command automatically do that for you. But now we can open Xcode. You can also open simulator. Open our Omi app iOS folder. Make sure we don't have Omi installed here already. Cool, so we don't have Omi installed. And then we can either run the dev or the prod. In our case, it doesn't matter because we only have one backend and one Firebase, so it doesn't really matter. What you do need to note, and this is like on your settings, basically you need to go to folder and then choose the runner, and make sure you are like signed into your Apple account, because you have to have an Apple account. And the bundle identifier that you create in the Apple account need to be the same one. So the bundle identifier, if you're running the dev one, this is the dev, debug dev. This is prod. This need to be the one you also put in the Firebase. So as you can see, if I copy this, again, this is something I need to configure Apple when I create an Apple account. And this will be the same one as this one. Cool. Now we can just hit run. And we should see it being installed. Cool. So now Omi is being installed. And before we continue, I just want to show you, if we go to authentication, we don't have users at the moment. In authentication, just go to sign in methods and make sure you click add new provider and choose the Apple provider. You don't need the Google or email or the anonymous, just the Apple one. And just click enable and save. That's all. So sign in with Apple. It will create a pop-up. I have an Apple ID on my iPhone. You need to use yours. Sign in. And it signed us. Now we're going through the onboarding. Allow once. Continue. Now I can hit skip here. And now if we hit refresh, we should see the user. Okay, so we have the first user in our own Firebase. So our app is already connected to our own Firebase. Now we need to see if it's actually going to connect to our backend. So if you remember, we have a backend. we have a backend running here behind our Ngrok. So now to test if it actually works, the easiest way is to go to chat and try and chat with it. Hello. And it is not working. Okay, I think so. The issue is with the type sense. I don't know why it's configured this way. I'm just going to comment out wherever it is used. So basically, whoever calls search memory, because so it asks us to, it fails because it asks us to give these environment variables, and we can do that, but we also already provided Pinecone, so I don't want to provide that as well. So I'm just going to comment that out, and I hope it will actually work. So if we try to run it again, unicorn. All right, and now no errors. Test. Okay, so we did get a message. It was passed to from the Ngrok to our server. It failed for some reason, but it is communicating with the server, so that's good. Hello. Cool. So looks like trying to issue with the server. Blah blah blah. That's okay. If we look at the issues, I think it tells me here to create. There are some issues with the Firestore, so it gives you a link for for the Firestore to create indexes. Save. Let's see if it now works. Okay, it might take a while.
A few moments later.
Okay, so there were two issues to make it work. So the first issue is that the first time you run the app against a new database, it will try and create the database. So like the schemas, the indexes, and stuff like that. So we had around four indexes it tried to create. So facts, memories, which like there might be more for you if you like play with the backend a bit more. But basically, every time it fails on an index, it gives you a link to go to create that index. Essentially, an index is a way for a database to save um, commonly used queries in a way that make it more efficient to query afterwards. So we basically just need to create them. Um, because our code is trying to fetch facts from the facts collection, then we need to have this facts index. The fun part is that it is basically Firebase automatically tells you how to create it with the link that it gives you. So just do back and forth. For me, it was 4 times because I mainly tested the chat, which I will show you in a second. It takes like a few minutes to for the status to change from enabling to enabled. So just hit refresh. So that was issue number one. And issue number two, basically, it's a bit annoying, but basically, in backend database Reddit underscore db.py, we needed to add SSL equal true. I will add it as a PR, but if you see this video before it happened, just make sure like SSL equal true is there. And then if you run the backend again, it runs again. We have Ngrok do everything for it. We will open the app. Cool. Many things are happening here. I'm not sure. You see some failures, but you see some green stuff. But anyway, like the fun part is to go to messages, chat, and see if it works. Hello, how are you? and we see again the important part that is we're seeing that our app is communicating with our own backend. So this is actually running locally on my computer with my API keys um, behind my Ngrok, so I can actually connect my app on my phone. I can actually use that as well, and yeah, it works. So we get, hey Adam, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How about you? So this is a reply from our own API key. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. We had a lot of bugs along the way. I hope it wasn't too much. For me, it was a lot. If if you noticed, the background changed from having a full-on daylight to now a nighttime. But we succeeded. If you have questions, feel free to message on our Discord channel. And other than that, good luck.